Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Headlines, courtesy of our friends across the pond at boxing247.com. And today we're going to talk about the Chris Eubank, Liam Smith clash that took place in Manchester. But before we do so, I have a few comments to make with respect to that fight and with respect to British boxing and the promoters and matchmakers in general, who I think did a great disservice to DAZN. DAZN picked up the fight primarily for its North American audience. And yet, if you take a look at the major newspapers in the major boxing cities, be it Boston, New York, Toronto, Chicago, Detroit, not one of the major newspapers in those five cities had anything to say about the Chris Eubank Liam Smith fight or its undercard, which actually was a really good series of fights as well. Just for example, let me tell you, in the Chicago Sun-Times, their latest boxing headline is "Friendship starts with fight." Friendship starts with a fight, blossoms into a boxing club training at-risk youth. And that was from a couple of weeks ago. In the New York Times, from January 20th, a few days ago, their headline regarding boxing was "Jerry Goodsey, 67, Africana boxing champ who fought apartheid, dies." In the Detroit News, and remember, we're talking, these are cities that have in the past held major and still do have major fights that attract huge audiences, both ticketed audiences and pay-per-view audiences. Let's take a look at the Detroit News. Their headline today: Detroit awarded 2023 USA Boxing Extravaganza set for March. Okay. That was published in November 2nd. That was their last article regarding boxing in Detroit. Let's take a look at the Toronto Sun. Today's headline: oh, there weren't any regarding boxing. The last one was Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, set for February 25th, according to a report. So I'm looking around the world, the Boston Herald in their boxing section today, their headline, again, September 14th, 2022. Idle moment. Ortiz prepping to fight Lomachenko. And yet, if you take a look at the British reporting regarding boxing, it's all over this Liam Smith clobbering Chris Eubank Jr. over the past weekend. That is the big news that is making the headlines today. Let me read from boxing247.com what they have to say. Liverpool's Liam Smith shocked the world, shocked the world, really? Maybe shocked boxing audiences in the United Kingdom. But anyway, Liverpool's Liam Smith shocked the world, taking a TKO victory 1 minute and 9 seconds into the fourth round of a career-defining fight against Chris Eubank Jr. in front of a sold-out Manchester arena. Former world champion Smith came up a weight class to challenge Eubank Jr. and may have taken the greatest victory of his professional career to date. This is Liam Beefy Smith they're talking about. Eubank looked comfortable in the first 3 rounds, fluidly boxing and landing multiple shots that hurt Smith. However, Smith remained calm and composed in the fourth, coming forward and clipping Eubank with a clubbing right hook that seriously hurt him and forced Eubank to retreat to the corner of the ring. The Liverpudlian legend then launched a rapid flurry of punches, opening Eubank up to an inch-perfect uppercut that sent him tumbling to the canvas. Now, this unto itself would make for great viewing content around the world, I'm sure, in terms of a boxing event, a fight that will go down as a legendary classic, I'm sure, if you're a UK boxing fan. But if you're anywhere else in the world, I highly doubt you saw it. Eubank bravely rose back to his feet despite being seriously compromised and was able to beat the referee's count of 10. But a few more perfectly selected punches from Smith forced the fight to be stopped. Both men respectfully came together in the ring after the fight, recognizing each other's talent and determination after hard-fought contest between rivals that clashed in the build-up to the fight. Now let's recall that build-up to the fight. It was all over the UK press that Liam Smith had called out Chris Eubank Jr., calling him naughty names, saying he was gay. Eubank responded that Liam Smith was cheating on his wife, yada yada. So, I mean, this is how much they hated each other, and this is what was leading up to this big build-up of a great fight. But anywhere else in the world, didn't hear much of this. Liam Smith poses a serious threat to any fighter in the world at either 154 pounds or 160 pounds, says this article, and looks set to continue reigning at the top of the sport over 7 years after winning the first world championship. Chris Eubank Jr. remains one of the biggest stars in British boxing and showed tremendous heart to get back up after a brutal knockdown and to try and fight on, winning over a lot of fans in a hostile, packed-out Manchester arena. So there you go, boxing fans. A little bit of news regarding a fight that we basically missed out on. Not we here at Talking Fight, but if you're anywhere else in the world, you didn't get this kind of enthusiasm from any of the sport reporters at the newspapers or any of the editorial staff at radio stations or television stations. It just simply was not reported either before the fight or now even after the fight, which seems to have been a tremendous fight by all accounts, if you're reading the UK press. And if I were DAZN, by the way, if I was an executive at DAZN, which I am not, but if I were, I'd be extremely upset with the promoters and the matchmakers at pretending that such a clash of British titans would attract a North American audience. It did not. And DAZN obviously is losing even more money now than they reported to have lost last week, which I think was in the 1.2 billion a year range. But nonetheless, for boxing fans around the world, you especially, my talking fight friends, the full undercard results are as such. Richard Rapori defeats Glowacki by technical knockout, as in round 4, 2 minutes 44 seconds in. Richard proved himself to be ready to challenge for a world championship now with a consummate performance against a former world champion in Krzysztof Glowacki, forcing the referee to stop the fight at the end of the 4th round after a savage barrage of fierce right hands and left hooks. So again, yet another great fight, but one that was missed by the world. Iki Usman defeats Chris Kongo. Okay. Usman retained the British and Commonwealth welterweight championships against Kongo by majority decision, a 50-50 fight of the year contender that had action from first to the final bell. Both men gave absolutely everything in a 36-minute war where both men had justification to claim victory at the end. I'm sure they did. The one interesting fight that I made note of last week, former world heavyweight champion Joseph Parker took a strong unanimous decision victory over resilient and aggressive opponent in Jack Massey. Parker outlanded and outdamaged his opponent across the 10 rounds of the fight and showed heart to hold off Massey's relentless offense. Parker controlled the first 4 rounds of the fight, pushing Massey back to the ropes and throwing powerful shots. Massey successfully took opportunities to fire back, but Parker was able to accumulate damage. The fight opened up in the 5th round onwards, with both fighters landing big shots on the other, but with Parker continuing to get the better of his spirited opponent overall, with both men giving everything in the final round to try to get the stoppage, with their ferocity matched only by their determination not to taste defeat. Fraser Clark, who you might all recall, is famously known for his triumph on Team GB at the Olympics by winning a bronze medal, I might add. The article reads, highly touted professional heavyweight Fraser Clark took his 5th professional victory of his career against a seasoned opponent in Kevin Espindola. Clark forced the first stoppage loss of Espindola's career after breaking him down with smart distance management and a strong mix of shots to the head and body, rendering Espindola unable to come out for the 5th round. Clark, they conclude, can already rightfully claim a place of one of the best heavyweights in British boxing. In only 5 professional fights, he can now look forward to the best in UK's blue arband, whatever that means, division, and demand respect in that group. But it's actually heavyweight. It must be a... On to one of our favorites here, talking fight, Matty Harris. 6'9" powerhouse heavyweight prospect Matty Harris delivered a brutal first-round knockout to take the 3rd stoppage victory in the opening 3 minutes of his first 4-fight professional career. Harris bludgeoned Jiri Surmaj with shots from the first bell and forced referee to stop the fight after 74 seconds. This charismatic giant has devastating power in both hands and the potential to become one of the biggest heavyweight stars in British boxing. The other 2 fights saw Scott Forrest defeat Armin Bukata and Frankie Stringer defeat Christian Narvaez, both on points. All right, boxing fans around the world, I want to thank you once again for joining me here on Talking Fight. Appreciate it very much. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And we'll see you later on at 4 p.m. Eastern Time when I join Cedric Ben and Knuckle Up for their show, Knuckle Up. Thank you. Talk to you later.